Dr. Charles Chamblee from Baptist Health. He's here to talk about how to prevent 90% of arguments in relationships. That's a big number.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
and I don't think any arguments have ever started over magnetic eyelashes, so that'd be a new one we could kind of throw in there.
You know what, Dr. Chamblee, my husband and I, no kidding, have had an argument over fake eyelashes.
You have not.
We really have. Because I leave them all over the house.
Oh.
And so it's like,
Okay.
these things scare me. I think they're spiders.
They're
So,
exactly. Yes, but we are going to give some basic concepts about how to prevent, I would say, the great majority of arguments, disagreements that people have ever had. One basic concept that so often gets overlooked.
All right.
How's
Looking
that
forward
for
to
a
that.
teaser?
That is a great teaser. Yeah, very intrigued.
I'm back with Dr. Charles Chamblee from Baptist Health Behavioral Clinic. And he's telling us how to prevent most arguments you might have with your spouse. Thanks for being with me today.
Absolutely, glad to be here. Not only with your spouse, that what we're going to talk about applies to all relationships,
I
be
love
it
this.
co-worker relationships, parent-child relationships, all kinds of relationships. Going to give you just one clue that oftentimes leads to those arguments.
So what is it?
So what would you say is the leading cause of arguments in relationships? And you talked about marriage or spouses. Is it finances,
Right.
in-laws, sex, money? What is it?
Right.
I say that the number one cause of most arguments is what I called uncommunicated expectations. I have this expectation of you, but I've never bothered to communicate this expectation to you, because anybody who's thinking straight is going to see it my way.
Of course.
I mean, that's what we
and can
think.
read your mind too, right?
Absolutely. I can't tell you how many people I've had come in and one of the spouses say, they've known me long enough, they ought to just know how I think.
Thanks.
Well, the problem is we change over the years and new experiences come and we don't always like the same thing that we like. And so those expectations oftentimes are not communicated. And that is the number one downfall to it. And so I think there's three basic steps to doing that. First of all, you need to communicate the expectation. So let's say you and I are married, and I say to you, Ansley, here's my expectation. I want breakfast in bed every Saturday. So I would like you to bring me breakfast in bed every Saturday. And you say, well, wait a minute, I don't know that I can do it, but let's shoot for maybe once a month. Well, now we have begun to negotiate the expectation. I've stated to you my expectation. You've said, no, let's talk about this a little bit. So you've negotiated. That's the second phase of it. And then in the end, when we finally settle on it, I go, absolutely, I would be happy with breakfast in bed once a month. Now we have communicated what that expectation is. And I always suggest to people you write it down, because how many times have you had somebody say to you, well, you didn't say that to me, or no, I didn't hear it that way. Well, if you write it down, then you've got an agreed upon expectation. And I tell you, Ainsley, that can solve most all relationship problems.
I would completely agree with that. Is it come to like a personality difference? You know, some people are more verbal and are better about telling somebody what they're thinking, and somebody,
Absolutely.
other people aren't. So
Yeah.
I mean, how do you work that out?
People are oftentimes hesitant to ask for what they need
Right.
in a relationship, and that is so key. And I say to folks, you've got to be able to do that without it being a demand, because if you're making a demand of something, then the person is going to be naturally resistant to that. But you've got to be able to ask for what you need in a relationship. That is one of the keys. And again, so many folks say they ought to be able to read my mind, they've known me long enough, they ought to know how I think, they ought to know what I want, they should know what I like. Well, that may all be true, but again, you've got these assumptions that oftentimes can sink the quality of relationships. So if you can communicate them, negotiate what they are, and then come back on an agreed upon expectation and write it down so that there is no misunderstanding, that will solve so many problems.
It almost seems elementary of why are some people hesitant to communicate? Why don't people communicate?
Well, there's some people are just uncomfortable with it. It's hard for me to say something or to ask for something. I feel like I'm putting a burden on you. Some people just feel like they aren't really good at it. I've heard so many times that they get out-argued in a relationship, so over a period of time they withdraw and they don't want to do it because they feel like they know what's coming. I mean, they're going to blow up on me, so why do I even ask? So I just fall back in doing that. So many times people just take the path of least resistance.
Right.
And that may provide a momentary peace, a momentary cessation of conflict, but it's not going to get you a long-term solution. I tell couples, and I can't tell you how many have been surprised when I say this, I encourage couples to fight. If you fight fair. And fighting fair is fighting towards solving the problem, not fighting toward winning the argument. Because when you win the argument, you've got a winner and a loser.
Sure.
And if you fight to solve the problem, you've got two winners. And if folks can fight fair, again, be it couples, be it parent-child, be it coworkers, if you can fight to solve the problem, so both of you are working on solving the same thing, then you've got something you can work with long-term.
Good information. Dr. Chamblee, thank you so much for being here. Of course,
Absolutely.
you can contact Dr. Chamblee by email, which is drchamblee@practice-plus.com, and you can also give him a call at the number right there on your screen.